Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the new OUDGASM collection from KAYALI. Let me tell you, the moment that these fragrances went live on the KAYALI website, I ran over, I placed an order for a 10 ml of each. If you guys have been watching my channel for a while, you guys know that I love a lot of KAYALI fragrances. There are many loves that I have in my collection from that house, and just when I heard that they were launching a collection called OUDGASM, like an oud-based fragrance collection to the mainstream market, I was so excited to see this change in the designer world. And I think that it was really necessary at this time. You know, I feel like it's a time right now people are getting kind of, I don't want to say bored, but maybe a little bored of just that typical, like what you find in Sephora. Everything seems to be kind of like blending together in a lot of ways in the women's world and in the men's as well. So I think that this is something that the market was really missing, and this is a great time to be launching these types of fragrances coming into fall, into winter. I know we're on the beach here, but I know that in a lot of other places around the world, it is getting a little bit colder. It was 75 degrees here in Fort Lauderdale. It's a little bit of a relief from like that 90, 95 degree weather. I'm so proud of KAYALI for bringing this change in the quote-unquote mainstream market, and I think it's going to be very exciting to see what this shift is going to be like in modern perfumery. And I think that this collection is an amazing introduction to oud for I don't want to say normal people, but you know, people that are just used to wearing other types of KAYALI fragrances or just used to shopping in Sephora. I think this is going to bring something that is different, and there's at least one fragrance in this collection that is for everyone. So I'm going to start with Tobacco Oud. So the notes in this one, it has mandarin, white honey, geranium, vanilla, tobacco, and oud. And I will say that in this collection, the way that the oud is done, it's very clean, very digestible, and it's not that strong. I say that in all of these fragrances, the oud is just kind of like an accompanying note. It's not like the star of the show, like a super stinky, loud oud fragrance. No, it's something that's it's really perfect to introduce to the market. The tobacco oud was the first one that I smelled, and I was just like, wow, I cannot believe how good this is. It was an instant love for me. There's something right in the opening that gives you some sort of coffee vibe. I think that's another reason why I really liked it initially. It's a very incensey, sweet tobacco, kind of like going in the direction of a frankincense. It's very mellow and sugary sweet. It's not a complicated or offensive incense at all. This one definitely leans masculine, okay? This is something that I think that a lot of men will like, but there is something about the honey and the sweetness in this that is going to appeal to some women. It's for the girls that don't like typical, super sweet, just like typical feminine fragrances. A woman could definitely pull this off, but this is a great fragrance for a man as well. The way that the mandarin is done in this, now just imagine this, it kind of reminds me a little tiny bit of Symphonium by Xerjoff. No, they don't really smell the same. Xerjoff, you guys know, Symphonium is like a chocolate orange mandarin kind of scent. This definitely is not chocolatey, but the way that the mandarin is done, it kind of reminds me a little tiny bit of that. This is a beautiful fragrance to kind of get an entryway into niche perfumery, to really kind of expand your horizons from just, you know, normal mainstream perfumery. It's really going to give you something different to try. This one has a very heavy use of very balsamic and oriental notes, but I will say there is a very minimal oud here. It's not, like I said, none of these have like just a huge punch in the face of oud. It's definitely there. It's a supporting backbone in the fragrances. You're not going to be like, oh, this is a very dominant oud fragrance. It's not like that. There's something kind of festive and green about this as well. I don't know. There's something a little Christmassy about it. Something a little green, like a kind of green tobacco as it dries. It kind of goes in this like Christmassy direction. I think that in the collection, this one is definitely the most artistic. It's amazingly blended, and this is a great one for a man if you're watching to try, but perfect for a female as well. I could definitely see myself wearing this. So that was Tobacco Oud. And now, of course, I am just biting at the bit to talk about Cafe Oud. You guys know anything with coffee, I'm instantly interested, and this is the one that I was probably the most excited about out of the whole collection, just because of that coffee, of course. So the notes that are listed here, we have cappuccino, geranium, rose, white musk, vanilla, and oud. And I will say that this one really opened differently than I was expecting. It opens very floral with a soapy edge. There is a very distinct soapiness to this. It's not really overly soapy. It's kind of giving me more of like a clean linen kind of scent. Not so much like soap, but like luxury, laundry, clean linen. There's a lot of very clean white musk is where that's coming from. Very crisp florals in here. It kind of reminds me a little bit, if you were to mix like Lazy Sunday Morning and Coffee Break by Maison Margiela like together as a fragrance, this kind of reminds me of that in the opening. As it dries, the coffee comes out to play a lot more in this. It's not really there so much in the opening, but it definitely comes out as it dries. I will say throughout the life of it, the coffee is not it's not the star of the show either. It kind of comes in and out. Like you just get wafts of coffee throughout this, but I think that it's more floral than anything. And the coffee in this it's like a cappuccino. It kind of reminds me of like a sweet latte. It's very like creamy and sweet, very delicious, not like a black coffee kind of note. It's very uplifting. It's one of those fragrances that kind of like, it lifts you up a little, puts you in a good mood. Definitely like a night out, date night type of fragrance, very feminine. In the dry down of this, I do get some vibes that remind me a little bit, going in the direction of something like Coco Mademoiselle by Chanel. It's really pretty, really pretty, like Coco Mademoiselle with some coffee. It's really fabulous. Like that's really the best way that I can describe it. It's a little bit soapy, clean linen with some florals and coffee, and like a cappuccino, a sweet latte, very creamy. I love it. Another coffee fragrance addiction for me. Cafe Oud it's fantastic. And the great thing about it all is that with the addition of this oud note and the heaviness of these fragrances, they're not overly heavy. They're definitely very wearable. You're gonna be able to pull them all off year round because believe it or not, oud actually works beautifully in the summer. In the heat, it really just shines and blooms on the skin. But because of that addition of the oud note, these fragrances are going to have great performance. They're going to have great longevity and projection, and they're going to be a little bit louder than the rest of the fragrances in the KAYALI line. So now we're going to move on to Rose Oud. I wasn't expecting this, but it became my favorite out of the whole line. So this one with the notes on the box here, it says lemon, geranium, Bulgarian rose, vanilla, Madagascar, cashmere wood, and oud. Of course, cashmere, anything with cashmere, I'm instantly in love. What's very cool about this one is this is technically, if you think about it, the first ever like mainstream rose oud. If you guys are not too familiar with niche perfumery, rose oud is like one of the most popular, common fragrance DNAs out there. But in the mainstream world, Sephora, Ulta, places like that, it's not really a thing, at least in the woman's side of fragrances. This is a really huge accomplishment here. This fragrance is really making history. This one is gorgeous and it smells niche. I'm telling you, the quality of this collection is just, it's beautiful. They smell very, very expensive. There's this beautiful citrus in the opening here. All these fragrances have a really beautiful sweetness to them that are going to make them a little more mass appealing and just really easy to love. This one is very elegant, classy, and bougie. Trust me guys, bougie girls wear rose oud fragrances. It's very crisp and clean, a lot of that gorgeous cashmere. The cashmere just does so much for this. It does so much for any fragrance, but the way that the cashmere is added to this rose oud combo with this kind of like, as it dries, the citrus kind of changes a little. Instead of really evaporating, it kind of changes into like this deeper, creamier, kind of smells like a tangerine vibe to me. Something kind of mandarin, tangerine, something in that direction. And it just adds so much mixed with the cashmere and that rose oud. Honestly, I was not expecting to like this one the most because it's a rose oud. Like I said, it's very popular in the niche world and I have so many rose oud fragrances in my collection, but this one actually turned out to be my favorite. I like this fragrance. This is my #1 from the collection. I am obsessed with rose oud. It's really a 10 out of 10 and this one develops like no other on the skin. It is just stunning. So that brings us here to the last fragrance, Vanilla Oud. Probably the one that people are the most excited about. The notes in this: vanilla sugar, praline, saffron, white musk, oak moss, and oud. So there's going to be something a little gourmand about this with the praline, something spicy with the saffron. So this one, I would say, is the loudest out of the entire collection, at least in the opening. The initial blast is like whoa. The opening of this kind of gives you like a vanilla cookie type of vibe. Definitely the most gourmand in the collection. It kind of smells a little bit like a bakery. Very delicious. And this is going to be one that's really going to appeal to the fans of Vanilla 28, which I am. And I really love the scent profile of this one as well. It takes something that's a little familiar, reminiscent of Vanilla 28, and just adds a little bit more depth in that oud. It just really creates a whole new experience in the vanilla world. It opens very strong, but does calm down a little bit as it dries. Really just gourmand galore. It's a very super creamy vanilla. I feel like this one is going to be the most mass appealing for people. I feel like this is the one that will probably end up being the best seller for people just because of this sweet vanilla and the success of Vanilla 28. I think this is going to be their #1 bestseller in the collection. The oud in here is pretty minimal, but it is there. But I think it kind of adds more to like this bakery vibe, this very gourmand bakery vibe. It's a very like crisp, kind of clean oud. Like how the oud is done in all of these. There's nothing like challenging about the oud in any of these. I feel like this is a great entry into the line as well. And like I said, if you love Vanilla 28, you're going to love Vanilla Oud. For me, I don't think that I'll be running out and purchasing a full bottle of this like right away because I have Vanilla 28 and it would be a little redundant for me. If I were to pick, probably the first purchase that I would make from the collection is Rose Oud. So it's just something very special about that one for me. Yeah guys, that is my first impression mini review of the new OUDGASM collection by KAYALI. I was so excited to get these fragrances in the mail. Literally the moment that I got it, I just ripped the box open. I had to smell them, I had to test them out. And if I had to pick like my favorites, if I had to order them 1 to 4, I'd probably say my number 4 is going to be Vanilla Oud. Not because I don't like the scent, I do really enjoy the scent. I love anything vanilla, but just because it might be a little redundant for me to have because I have Vanilla 28. If I had to pick a number 3, I'd probably put Cafe Oud. Even though I love this scent and I love anything with coffee, that's another one that I'd probably run out and buy right away, honestly. I'm gonna put it as number 3 just because Tobacco Oud to me is a little bit more artistic and something even more different. It's the only one that I smelled that didn't remind me of something else. And so I wanna give it brownie points for being super unique and just very Christmassy, festive. I love fragrances that go in that direction. And then my number 1 is going to be the Rose Oud, which I was not expecting at all. But this fragrance, Rose Oud, it has my whole heart. I will be running out and getting a bottle of this ASAP. There's something so refreshing about this. This might be one of the most refreshing rose ouds that I have in my entire collection. And there's something about this one that stands out from the rest as well because it's so fresh and citrusy. I absolutely adore it. It is beautiful. The whole collection really just, wow, I was so surprised at how well done all of these are. That is my video for today. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a comment below which fragrance from the OUDGASM collection you are the most excited to try. I would love to know your thoughts. And what do you guys think about this new addition to the mainstream market? What do you guys think about oud becoming mainstream in 2023? I think it's very cool, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.